Alrighty, let's see. We're told that after the war, the Nazis vanished without a trace, but battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books, they tell of their defeat in 45, but they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. Well, what's up, Kyle? What's up? What it do, what it do? What it do, what it be, where it be, who it be. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for anyone to get here before the trolls, you know? You really got to catch that notification early. YouTube's not the best about sending those out anymore anyway, so it's just a crapshoot. But that is one reason why you guys should make sure that you've got the little bell dang, the little bell dinged, dang, dung. Do you know who Wings of Redemption is? Yes, sadly I do. Wings of Wendy's chili. Wings of absolutely no chance at redemption. Wings of sausage. Yeah. What's poppin'? What's poppin'? What's up, everybody? Make sure you guys hit that like button as you're rolling in. Every single time you hit that like button, there's another chance in the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality for even push back, because other people engage in the chat. My manatee impression last month was pretty solid. You gotta hit that notification bell so we can all have a dude pop out and say, "Who rang that bell?" Yeah. Thank you for the manatee impression compliment. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember doing it at a specific point last month, but I'm apt to do my manatee impression anytime somebody, like, it does not take a whole lot of encouragement to get me to do the old manatee impression. Wings is my favorite Locke Lamau. I feel bad for him sometimes, but he never fails to double down. Well, I don't feel that bad for any of the modern lol cows, except for like Chris Chan, Cyrax, some of the ones that feel like they can't put it down. There's nothing like like they weren't raised right, and they don't have anyone in their lives that can tell them, "Ah, you're just making a fool of yourself, and you are not making money off this shit. This is not entertainment. This is self sabotage," right? Like, people can make fun of me all they want. They can call me a lol cow or Boogie for that matter, or Wings of Redemption or anything like that. But I make money on this shit. Boogie makes way more money than I do. Wings makes way more money than I do. And sure, do they make it in a way that's kind of smarmy and greasy and kind of shitty? Like making fun of themselves and making fun of other people and being made fun of by a big community of people? Sure. But the same was the same was true of fucking you know, oh, who are some good examples of some people that would have fit that kind of role? Well, Artie Lang to a degree on the Howard Stern show, but you could probably cite some of the, like, what was his fucking name, dude? What was that dude's name? Um, Gary the Retard, yeah. Like, Gary the Retard was paid to be on Howard Stern, and, like, yeah, he was paid to be, like, a, mentally challenged person that people made fun of, and that was how he made his living. And insofar as his involvement in the show was concerned. But he had a baseline awareness of what he was doing. He had caretakers that understood and kept him from getting the worst bits of the hatred and shit like that. And people weren't even really hateful about it back then. Like, there was a degree of separation, I guess, with a radio show that doesn't exist necessarily with the internet, because people can get so personal with the internet. But the idea of this colorful eccentric that's paid to be made fun of, basically, is an idea as old as time, probably. There were lol cows probably walking around back in caveman days. I think that we just haven't always called them that, right? Like, when I was in high school, for example, and the term lol cow first started to become something you'd hear more, it meant someone like Cyrax or Chris Chan, someone who cannot help it, who couldn't turn it off if they wanted to. Nice new profile picture, by the way, Riley. You did it on the stream those waterheads did. No. You're talking about the Manitic Gauntlet? You talking about that wonderful piece of 24-hour long content that you could find on the Pessimist Productions Patreon? America Mafiosos? Yeah, do we want to get into this Venezuela shit? Aw, thanks, Bree. I appreciate that. That's kind of you. You're a complete joke? We were just talking about that, actually. Oh, Gord. We're here, everybody. The trolls and haters are here. You need to go to a mental hospital? Do those exist anymore? I thought Reagan got rid of most of those. Make sure you guys hit that like button. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, it'd be 40 fucking likes on top of whatever we've already got. So please hit that button. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Not really, no. Well, he got rid of the asylum system, and that was the joke. Maybe it was a shitty joke because he didn't really get rid of mental hospitals. I get it. There's behavioral health units. There are specialty care facilities. There are, behavioral health facilities. I get that, okay? I get that. Straight to the loony bin with ya. Yeah, exactly. Congrats, when did you transition? Back in 2020, actually. It's been almost 6 years. We all here to talk shit? Hell yeah. Damn right. We're all here to talk shit and to ostensibly try to have something like a conversation. By the way, if you would like your voice to become part of that conversation, for sure, if you would like a little better than just the luck of the draw that you get with sending your messages into the regular chat, send a super chat or a cash app. You can find that in my channel description. Either way, you will get your message read out and answered, and you will become part of the discourse. Isn't that wonderful? How long were you a boy? I came out as trans when I was 21 years old, so 21 years. Do you happen to watch PKA by chance? No. And this person will call anyone a Nazi. I've seen it. Haha. No, the only people I call Nazis are people that are blaming everything on the Jews. That's pretty much the only people I really call, like, regularly, reliably call Nazis. I might, like, make a joke about somebody being a Nazi, but if I don't feel like they're actually being a Nazi, at some point, I'll let them into the humor. You know, at some point, I'll let them in that I'm just trying to trigger them a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, if you've been in here blaming all of your life's woes and all of the world's problems on Jews, then yes, I have correctly identified you as a Nazi. That is true. Yeah, if you want to sit around and criticize Israel, we can do that all day long. But if you want to sit here and say that every problem on the planet is the fault of the Jews, then I'm going to slap you in your face, metaphorically, with the power of words. I was about to say of verbs. Shit, but you get the point, right? Like, I'm not down for anti-Semitism. I'm anti-Israel as fuck. But, like, you can recognize that Israel is a fucked up country and also recognize that the Jewish people are not collectively responsible for all the evil that has ever occurred on the planet. You identify as a woman, but you admit you're a man, still correct? Huh? What? So I was born with a penis. Whether or not I've had sex reassignment surgery is none of your business. I have lived as a woman for the last 5 years, last 6 years almost, so I don't know that I can answer your question in a cut and dry way, friend. I'm afraid that you have stumped me. I meet a lot of girls at the local mental ward. You know, that is one place to meet them, for sure. You're a man? You're too retarded to spell, so why would I take your opinion seriously? What, you're a medical doctor, but you never figured out the difference between your and your? Even if you were a medical doctor, you have no relationship with me. You have no doctor-client relationship with me. What do you know about my health? What do you know about my brain chemistry? What do you know about my hormonal makeup? You don't know the answers to any of these questions. You don't know my diagnostic history. You don't know how long I experienced dysphoria before having it addressed officially with hormone replacement therapy. You don't know any of these things. You're making a baseline judgment because you have decided for narrative reasons that you don't like trans people and that you don't believe in it. Similar to how some people, despite all scientific evidence, believe that the earth is flat, and some people believe that the moon isn't real. I think that people are entitled to believe whatever the fuck they want, but the science says that transgender people are real and valid, that the moon is real and spherical, and that the planet is a ball. Now, you are perfectly free to believe something other than what the science has to say on the matter, and I am perfectly entitled to disregard you flagrantly, flippantly, without even giving you a second thought, because why would I? You have an opinion that isn't predicated on scientific understanding. It's predicated on vibes, yo. And sorry, like when I'm like contemplating theoretical legislation, I need a little bit more than vibes, yo. Hi, Lampolaris. Bro, saying the thing in Venezuela is about oil? What do you think it's about, Alpha? Do you really fucking buy the line that it's about drugs? Well, then explain this. How come Donald Trump doesn't even know what kind of drug Venezuela is most famous for producing? Venezuela doesn't produce fent. Some fent travels through Venezuela, sure, but number one, it's not destined for United States markets, and number two, the vast majority of drugs that come out of Venezuela are in the form of cocaine and cocaine derivatives, friend. That is Venezuela's main drug export, and all of their drug exports are mainly destined for the European markets and international markets more broadly. As it turns out, Venezuela is not actually a drug trafficking hub to the United States. Now, I know that there are some people who literally buy whatever line comes out of the State Department and the president's mouth, but you guys really need to turn your critical thinking switch back on. You guys really need to turn that light back up on in your head, okay? And you need to start critically thinking about this shit. Donald Trump has basically told you multiple times that it's about oil. He cannot be asked about Venezuela without talking about how cheap the oil is going to be, without talking about how cheap gas prices are going to be. Not true, by the way, but he keeps repeating it as if it is true. So Like, what is it about if not oil? Still drugs, though? When did it become our job to police the drug trafficking of the entire planet? And if it is our job to police the drug trafficking of the entire planet, when are we going to deal with ourselves? Because we traffic more cannabis to the rest of the world than any other country traffics to any other country. We are the world's leading fucking producer of cannabis flower. Do you know that? I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. The other countries pay us to do that anyways. To do what? Huh? What are you talking about? Oil is good. I'd like the dollar to keep working. See, but at least you admit that this whole war is about oil. That's interesting. Like, you've got so many different opinions that are coming out of this right now, because basically this entire discourse is a giant swirl. It's a giant swirl, and things are still happening and positions are still shaping up. But here I stand on the rock, sundered from all of you, above it all, over the fray, speaking truth to power when I say things like, this is a war over oil, and Donald Trump intends to occupy Venezuela for as long as it takes under his personal control and the extended control of Marco Rubio, fucking Stephen Miller, and Pete Hegseth, and I believe that they are going to establish a complete American hegemony over that country, giving all of its mineral rights and all of its oil rights over to American corporate interests, and they will not leave that country and allow elections in that country until they have established United States-friendly government and a United States-friendly government system. That is when we will finally leave. And once those people, and we might not even leave then, by the way, we might like get that established and then decide we still need to stay 3 more weeks, we still need to stay 3 more years, we still need to stay another decade, and in that case, we'll leave whenever the people get so fucking sick of us being there that they start to actively destroy military installations. And at that point, then we'll leave. Making the world a better place, go Trump. I thought Trump was supposed to be the anti-war president. Just goes to show you, when lefties were pointing out the complete lack of morality among Trump's base, we were completely 100% right. You guys don't care about anything. You guys are literally heartless, soulless vampires that will go along with whatever your orange daddy tells you to do. If Donald Trump told you to molest your mother tomorrow, you would do it. If Donald Trump told you to shoot your dad tomorrow morning, you would do it. If Donald Trump told you to dig up your grandmother's grave and sodomize her corpse, you would do it, because you are not a person with a free-thinking, rational mind. You're a cultist. Let's make sure people are at least putting a little bit of skin in the game if they're gonna do nothing but talk endless shit, Like, at the very least, make these motherfuckers subscribe. There we go. Alrighty. You can still send whatever message you want. We can still talk about whatever you guys want, but this will make sure that the chat is actually readable. By the way, if you're having a hard time getting your message read or answered, send a super chat. That is the only way to make sure that it happens. You can also donate through my Cash App, which is on my channel description. Either way will ensure that your comment becomes part of the discourse. Thank you guys for listening up until now. Subscribe, yes, please. Hi, Michelle. Hello, welcome. Yes, share the stream, like the stream, participate in all the ways that are normal. Phenomenologist? Nice, I'm still here. Okay, cool. Almost 500 people. You never know. We might still keep going. What's up, Maximo Tibus? Venezuela is the same thing as Ukraine? No, they're a little bit different, right? Because, like, Ukraine already had a U.S.-friendly government. Ukraine already had after, like, the Euromaidan and shit, it left Ukraine with a U.S.-friendly government. And over the course of the last few years, we've been supporting them just enough to keep that conflict going on and enriching our military-industrial complex. But like we haven't committed to it all the way because that's a more intense power dispute with a much bigger military power that actually poses some danger to us, Like we would have never done this to Venezuela if Venezuela was still under the protection of the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore, and Russia does not have the same imperialistic desire that the old Soviet Union did. I'm not saying they don't have any, okay? I'm just saying they don't have the international, like, you realize, and, the conservatives will make this point sometimes, but they're actually kind of right about it. They just don't know the whole story. They'll say something about how the Soviets wanted to enact communism globally. And it's like, no, I mean, they said that they did, and some of the early progenitors of the movement said that they did, and it remained a consistent theme in their rhetoric. But the idea of the Communist International was pretty much abandoned as real Soviet theory after they had gotten the states that they got into the Soviet Union. After they established that, their intercolonial ambitions slowly started to fade away, and things like the Cuban Missile Crisis started to demonstrate the Soviet Union's inability to hold on to its satellite nations across the world. Interesting story that. The Soviet Union is a really fucking fascinating country to look into if you just want to know the history about a country that tried and failed and, ended up getting completely broken up into a new thing. It's the most modern example of it and the most, developed example of it. Why do you think silver is on a bull run? Probably because Venezuela's got tons of silver. That's what I would guess. Looking forward to Trump 2026. Do you think what do you mean you're looking forward to Trump 2026? Like Trump aligned candidates 2026? I'm not sure I understand that. Are you Venezuelan? No, I'm American, aka the people who just bombed Venezuela. So I have a right to talk about it if I want to. As it turns out, it was my tax dollars that helped fund those bombs. So if I want to protest their being used, I have every right to. Are you actually stupid or are you pretending to be stupid? I don't know. I could ask the same of you, considering you have apparently presented me with a complaint, but absolutely no argument. You can't even point out what part of my argument you have a problem with. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to send this stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your being pushed back, increase the number of people who can engage in the chat. So please do so now if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate it. Also, send a super chat if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered. It's the best way to make sure that your voice gets added to the discourse. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. People subscribe to talk to this phenomenon. You did. You certainly did. Low-key feel bad for the stuff people are saying in chat? Well, don't, because I don't read 90% of it, and the 10% that I do read, honestly, the 80% of that 10% that is mean, I, respond to it or I don't, and then I move on from it. It ceases to affect me, or it ceases to be a part of my thought pattern after I hit the off button. Some of the nice comments will stick around for a while, and if I have a really thoughtful, interesting conversation, good, bad, right, or wrong, agree, disagree, I'll think about that for a while. But baseline insults don't stick with me. So don't let them stick with you. You're very smart. I don't know about that, but I try my best. My tax money funded your hormones? I'm actually not on hormone replacement therapy because I can't afford them, because as it turns out, it's actually pretty difficult to qualify for Medicaid. Let me see. What do you think about Russia? Not a big fan of their policy. Think Russia's a pretty terrible country, but also not a fan of U.S. intervention in the way they're doing things. I think that as long as we're providing defense to our allies, or our established allies and shit, that's pretty much the extent to which we should oppose Russia's international or geopolitical goals. I do not see us as the world police. I do not see a world with less American hegemony as a place in which America is unable to thrive. Because you know what? Denmark does not rule the world, but people in Denmark live a really high quality of life. The Netherlands does not rule the world, but yet Dutch people have a really, really, really high quality of life. So something tells me that you don't have to be the big Billy badass, the big Billy big dick in the world to not get invaded and to not, disappear. I guess I don't even know what American supremacists are so worried about. Honestly, these America First people, I don't get what exactly they're so afraid of. But it seems to me like all you really need is strong alliances with your neighbors and with international allies, and you need to honor those agreements. Like it just seems like being a cooperative nation in on a planet full of nations is the best way to go in terms of ensuring international peace. You know, ensuring your own domestic security from external threats. You block anyone who criticizes you, then say no one can prove you wrong. I don't block everyone that criticizes me. That's such a moronic fucking thing to say that I don't even want to ennoble it with a response. I block people who say repetitive garbage that is not worth my time. What is your opinion on the Charlie Kirk assassination? I think Charlie Kirk was a backwards, bigoted moron who nevertheless did not deserve to be shot dead like a dog on the street. You know, I think ultimately Charlie Kirk did what I do for a living, and I think that it's kind of a fucked up thing when anybody who does this for a living gets shot merely for having the wrong opinion, the wrong time, for the wrong audience, or whatever. I think that that's pretty awful. And I do think that there's a threshold for that. You know, like Adolf Hitler. You know, I think that there's an argument to be made that if somebody would have offed Hitler before he came to power, maybe things would have been better in Germany. I don't know. You know, like there's an argument to be made there. But he was not out there saying we need to wipe out any group of people. He was saying outrageous and hateful things about people, but it fell quite short of outright endorsement of violence, at least as far as I can tell. And so, you know, like until you endorse violence, I don't really endorse violence against you. And as far as I know, Charlie Kirk did not personally endorse acts of violence against people on the left or people on the right or anything else. So, while I'm not shedding any salty tears about it, and I disagree with Charlie Kirk before he died and continue to disagree with him after he's dead, I also don't think it's something that we should be celebrating on the left or in the independent circuit. You know, I think it's something that should be recognized for what it is, and a sign of the increased heat in the discourse, a sign of the increased pressure on everybody, a sign of the times. Ultimately, by the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. We are breaking viewership records, so please hit that like button. You can really fucking help the stream and the channel right now for very little effort on your part. Do you think you have a mental illness? I think I probably have a variety of mental illnesses, like most fucking Americans at this point, you know? Um, like, do I think that they're related to me being trans? I mean, gender dysphoria, I guess. But that, you know, like, I feel like that's kind of different, right? Because, like, you know, you can treat anxiety and depression, but, like, on a depressed day, there's only so much you can do. If you're really fucking depressed, you know, like, there's only so much you can do. Whereas with gender dysphoria, like you really can pretty much almost never deal with gender dysphoria. It's not like you can completely cure it, but you can get to the point like where I like generally don't experience a whole lot of gender dysphoria on my day to day. And a lot of that's because my wardrobe and my hairstyle, my countenance and all that, I feel like pretty much matches what I want it to, you know? Not to say, like I said, it's not to say I never experience it, but I certainly experience my anxiety symptoms and like depressive symptoms more often than any kind of dysphoria symptoms, which leads me to believe that I am treating my gender dysphoria way more effectively than I'm treating the other two, which would track, right? Because the only thing I'm really capable of self-treating is my gender dysphoria. I mean, I guess you can kind of self-treat on those other two, but limited success, very limited success. Make sure you send a super chat if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. I cannot read every single chat, but I do read every single super chat or Cash App donation. You can send that too. That is in my channel description. If you're new to the chat, yes, please read Nicole thing. Yep, a train rolled by. Love your Days and Days sticker on your guitar. That is actually not a Days and Days sticker, my friend. Days and Days stole that. No, they didn't steal it. But so what that symbol is actually from is the old hobo code for squatters' rights. Well, so my understanding is that at one point it meant you can find shelter here. It was like a shadow mark, and then eventually it became synonymous with squatters' rights, and you know, it was after becoming synonymous with squatters' rights that Days and Days used it as the inn in their name. You literally can't argue with the people that live in Venezuela. Why? Why can't I argue with them? I love your guitar. It looks really cool. Yeah, thank you. For $10 or more, you guys can hear some music on it. Squatters shouldn't have rights. You're a fucking complete monster, and I disagree with you in every possible way. We should debate. You can smell this stream. I mean, it probably doesn't smell like you think it does. I literally just showered like an hour and a half ago, so I smell good. But there are some gourds in here that are being stored. They're not my gourds, okay? There's someone else in my family's gourds. But there's gourds in here that I've lovingly agreed to store in this chamber until some indeterminate time. And some of them have begun to mold. So it doesn't like stink in here. None of them are fermenting or anything like that. But, and maybe that's the point. Like, some of them are definitely the kind of gourd that's how you prepare them for gourd shit. You have to let them basically rot, like, they rot and dry up and dry out. And then, like you take the shell that's left from that process. So I don't know if I'm like supposed to be keeping them in here for long enough for them to do that and then moving them back out or what. But right now, honestly, it smells more like watermelon, maybe not watermelon, like pumpkin. There we go. Like pumpkin or some kind of like squash related gourd. Gourd shit. That's funny. Yeah. Yep. It smells like gourd. Is this a boy or girl? It's a girl. I think people should abstain from. I didn't even read that. Whatever. Watermelon, wow, that's racist. I think you might be the racist if you hear watermelon and your first thought is racism. I think you might be the one with racist intentions. Do you believe everyone deserves to be happy? Yes. Yes, I do believe everyone deserves to be happy. I mean, as happy as they can be. Like, I mean, obviously, like everyone deserves to be happy is such like a baseline cliche statement. It does deserve more nuance than that. Like, I don't think that. Okay, so I think everybody deserves human rights, and I think that everybody deserves some kind of baseline standard. But does everyone deserve to be happy? I mean, like, if someone rapes somebody, does that person deserve to be happy? I don't think they do. But I still think that they deserve human rights. I still would want them prosecuted according to the color of law. I would not want them strung up in a tree and hung at midnight. Like, that does not sound like my idea of a just system. Thank you for the $1.99. I appreciate that. What is the 5-point star symbol behind you? Well, for some people it would be a pentacle of incredible magical portent. For me, it's literally just a 5-pointed star tilted upwards. It's part of a spirit board, which is designed to work with a pendulum setting. So to use a board like this, you would set up a pendulum above it on something that kind of looks like a hangman's noose or something, right up above the center. Or you can just, hold the pendulum yourself. You ask it a question, you concentrate, and then it will tilt in the direction of the answer. And the theory behind pendulums, if you believe in them, is that it's basically a divination tool. You can see what the universe has to say about specific issues by using your will as an instrument of actuation. By the way, if anybody else would like to make sure their comment or question is read or answered, consider sending a super chat or a Cash App donation. You can find my Cash App in my channel description. Either way, this is a completely audience-supported stream, and I appreciate your support. Do you worship Satan? No. No, I'm not a religious person at all. I worship nature. That's the closest thing I can say that I have to some kind of worshipful relationship. I just have that back there because I think it looks cool, What happened if Christian? Huh? Done? Thank you. How is society even functioning with this amount of idiots? It's funny you would say that. It's really funny you would say that. Because I was literally thinking earlier as I was driving to go pick up my son, I was thinking, how the fuck? Like, how does society operate with how fucking dumb some people are? Not even some people, with how dumb most of us are. Even I do some stupid shit. And a lot of people think I'm smart. And I don't think I'm that smart. I think I'm kind of a retard, but whatever. I do some stupid shit. And then I think about how much dumber the average fuck is than me. And I think about how much stupid shit I've seen other people do. And then I just think, like, I got into this really sour cycle of thought where all I could think about legitimately for like 2 hours was, how the fuck does society even work? Like, baseline, how does it function? And you know what answer I really came to, honestly? Matt, the answer I came to is not it's not a relieving one, okay? It's not a relieving one. The answer I finally came to is that my society functions is because people put enough effort into shit at first to make it work, and then keep up on the maintenance, kinda, and basically everything. The answer I came to is more or less inertia, right? It's basically inertia that keeps our society moving forward. Like, why do the highways continue to function? Well, because, they're not just going to disappear one day because they haven't been maintained in enough time. Eventually, they'll get so bad that someone loses enough money and sues the state that they force them to fucking upgrade the road, or they'll, some city official will be driving down that road or driving down that highway and decide, man, the road's gotten shitty. This really is due for a repaving or whatever. Like, fuck it. Like, if you think about it, the world really does not require that much upkeep. Even the human world. Like, the regular world, like the natural world, requires absolutely no upkeep. It just requires planning around. Just requires understanding and planning around. But the human world really does not require as much upkeep as we think. Especially not small towns and county areas, which is 90% of America. Like 90% of America is not New York City and LA. It might be in terms of population. I get that in terms of population, most of the country lives on the coasts in the big cities. Okay, I get that. But in terms of landmass, most of America is not big city. Most of America is rural areas with very little municipal infrastructure and very little county infrastructure. I'm a nan? No, I am not a nan. Okay, I'm a mom, not a nan. Just a reminder, you have a kid, you vape, and you're gay. Gosh. All right. Okay. Do you think Trump is pansexual? I mean, it depends on your impression from that story that we got about Trump possibly blowing Bubba, whoever Bubba was, right? If you think it was Bill Clinton, which it seems likely that it was, then yes, I think Trump is probably pansexual, yeah. I mean, hard to know for sure, hard to tell, Nephilium? Huh? Why me acknowledge my message? You look like a man. What now? Do you play guitar? For $10 or more. Seriously. The super chat goal for busting the guitar out is $10 or more. But you can support the channel generally if you like the conversation by sending a super chat or donating through Cash App, which is in my channel description. Why is everyone against Trump on this Maduro thing? I can't tell you why everyone is against Trump on this Maduro thing, because I'm not everybody, but I can tell you why I'm against Trump on this Maduro thing. I'm against Trump on this Maduro thing because I do not, number one, he has not shown a lick of evidence when it comes to these drug smuggling accusations. He has not shown, he nor the rest of the Department of War or whatever, none of them have shown any evidence that Venezuela is actually guilty of this shit. Okay? None of them have presented any kind of evidence that there is some other threat that Venezuela poses to the United States national defense or national security. And because even if all the allegations about them being a drug trafficking nation were true, I don't think that we have the right to police other countries. I don't think that we have a right to indict some other country's fucking like the head of some other country and decide to arrest them and bring them into our country under false political pretenses when the evidence hasn't even been presented to the people and likely won't be presented to the people. And frankly, I just don't think it's our job in general. I think that it's the duty of a country to provide its own national defense and to provide its own internal security. Like, it's our job to make sure drugs don't get into our country. It's not Venezuela's job to make sure they never manufacture drugs. It's up to Venezuela whether or not they want to be a drug country or a non-drug country, okay? It should be up to the entire world whether or not they want to be drug countries or non-drug countries, because it should not be up to neoconservatives in America to determine what policies other countries have. So these are just some of the many reasons that I'm against Donald Trump's invasion, illegal invasion of Venezuela, and the continued occupation of Venezuela, which, as far as I'm concerned, is probably there to stay. And as far as the president is concerned, he's the one at the very top of the chain of leadership there right now, and it's going to stay there as long as it takes to secure the United States' national defense and national interest, which means that we're going to be there forever, friends. We're going to be there forever. Welcome to the new Iran. Welcome to the new Iraq. Welcome to the new Afghanistan. We're going to be there forever. Try that. Nobody should be illegal shit in any other country. Americans didn't even come up with that rhetoric, retard. That's literally rhetoric that was coined by German anti-fascists. I guess if your neighbor's doing illegal things, we shouldn't interfere? Yeah, literally, exactly, yes. Yeah, literally, yeah. What are you fucking... dude, this is white people suburbs mentality. This is why... Dude, I live out in the country. You goddamn right. If I fucking notice my neighbor's got a moonshine still because I happen to be looking through the the clear morning air one day on a particularly clear fall day, you goddamn right I ain't reporting that shit. Hell yeah. Now, if I see my neighbor stringing up a human body in a tree, that's a different fucking story now, isn't it? But if my neighbor's making moonshine or making meth, I don't give a fuck as long as it ain't gonna affect my ass. Do I gotta smell it? Does my house gotta get blown up when your meth lab does? Okay, cool. As long as the answer to both of those things is no, then I don't give a fuck. And I can't smell what meth Venezuela's cooking. I don't know about you. And as far as I can tell, looking at the map, I might be kind of an idiot, but I'm pretty sure the whole of Venezuela could explode and it wouldn't touch fucking America. So I really don't give a shit in terms of their wanting to be a drug-producing nation or whatever the fuck, which, by the way, the idea that Venezuela as a country has some national interest in that is silly. There's just a corrupt situation in Venezuela that's been allowed to develop over the years and over the decades that is coming to its natural head, you know? I'm not taking the side of Maduro. I'm just not taking the side of the fucking United States State Department. Bro, that meth analogy makes no sense. As long as it doesn't blow up, I'm cool. But they have a high propensity to blow up, you moron. That's why I said as long as it doesn't have to be right next to my house. Are you, like, stupid? Do you have, like, the skill of reading comprehension and listening comprehension? So I'll run you through the metaphor again, right? If my neighbor's making meth, I don't give a fuck. As long as it ain't close enough that I gotta smell it, or close enough that I gotta deal with the fucking fallout of the eventual meth lab explosion. That's what I said, idiot. Listen to it again, play it back if you have to, and don't put words in my mouth again or you'll be banned. See, some people are too stupid to understand what all that means. See, it's just a lack of understanding, which I guess I get, but it's like, if you see your neighbor smoking weed on their fucking front porch, Do you like call the cops on them just because they're sitting on their front porch smoking weed? Like, how much of a snitch are you, bitches? This is what I mean when I say it's white people suburban mentality. It's literally motherfuckers that look like me, but that grew up in a completely different fucking environment. Grew up in an environment where everyone tries their best to look like the perfect little cookie cutter family and they never do anything wrong. And like, so, you know, they call the cops on each other for every fucking thing they can. Like, literally, they're just waiting for an excuse to call the cops on their fucking neighbors. So, you know, they see their neighbor lighting up a joint on the front porch. They're like, oh my God, you guys, call the fucking cops. There's literally a dope head smoking pot right up front of their house, dude. It's like, Jesus Christ, you fucking snitch bitches. It's just such a distasteful behavior pattern, and it's so reflected in this fucking this attitude that we have towards Venezuela. It's so reflective. We've got this attitude. So many of the people that vote in this country and that voted fucking Trump in have this attitude of we have to secure the entire fucking neighborhood. And in their mind, the neighborhood is the Western Hemisphere. We have to make sure that the entire Western Hemisphere is completely under America's domination. We have to make sure that it's all behaving exactly the way we want it because we can't stand anyone else to live some way that's contrary to us. We are not strong enough to stand on our own and maintain our own national defense. No, we need to have sway, control over every single other fucking country. And so we're just going to take them over piecemeal, one by one, taking over governments until we've got the whole of South America and Central America. And then we'll come for Canada, and then there'll be nothing left. Nothing left. And then finally, maybe the suburbanites will be satisfied. Guy explaining the world cosplaying as a woman. Guy fucking pretending to have a point, being transphobic in someone's random YouTube chat. I don't know. It's so easy to dismiss you people that you're almost not even worth reading. Been catching a live here and there. I fucks with you. Glad to see you getting some traction. You got good views. Keep pushing, sister. Oh, thank you, Steve Lynn. I appreciate that. I think I've seen you in here before, Steve. Fuck yeah. I ain't salty, bitch. Fuck you. Edmund. A Pacino can reflect on their lack of profile picture, 100%. Thoughts on the divide and conquer strategy used by elites to control things for personal gains? I mean, you pretty much described it, right? Like, what thoughts do you really need me to add? You pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, the truth of like the world at this point is that almost everything you see, read, and engage with online is meant to piss you off, is meant to get you angry, is meant to make you fearful. Now, not everything, you know, like I try to be kind of a fucking oasis from that. Like, I try not to be a fucking doomsayer. I'm always the person who will remind you. Like when people say, what's going to happen? A lot of times my answer is, well, in the grand scheme of things, probably not much. But you know, here's what it'll mean for this particular group of people and this, that, and the other thing. But I'm not the kind of person who's constantly telling you guys that the world is ending or that World War III is here or that everything's about to fucking be destroyed and everything's going away and blah, 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 blah. You know, like that's not my style, right? I try to not be a place that's just like constant negativity. Even if we talk about political and religious and philosophical topics here, I try to be a place where like you can talk about the current events without necessarily having to focus so hard on like I try not to be an alarmist. That's the best way I could put it. Okay. Now sometimes there are situations that are genuinely alarming and there's no way to talk about them in a way that does not elicit a certain reaction, but I try not to be the kind of person who's like more focused on how spooky something is than I am on discussing the real policy implications of it. So you're okay with the atrocities in Venezuela? No. Where did you get that impression? See, this is like a very common tactic for American warmongers, right? Anytime America launches a new war, the people, most Americans maybe not most, but there will be a big chunk of Americans that'll be really pro-war. And right now, a Reuters Ipsos poll shows that it's only a third of Americans. So a lot of this shit you're seeing online is botted. A lot of it's not even real. But that third of Americans that does support the invasion into Venezuela, they are no different than the people who supported our invasion into Iraq under the theory that we had, or that they had WMDs there that we needed to dismantle and disarm. And, their excuses are the same, their reasonings are the same, and ultimately the real result of what ends up happening is largely the same. Um, and there's this tactic. That's what I was going to say. There's this tactic that American warmongers will use. They used it back during Iraq, and they're going to use it. They already are using it right now with Venezuela, which is, if you are not pro-invasion, then you must be pro-dictator. So if you oppose America's intervention into a country that has some kind of dictator leader, that must mean you just love and worship that dictatorial leader and you want them to stay in power forever. It can't be that you were proposing a different solution even when this shit happened, which I was, by the way. Back when this shit happened, I said that the UN should fucking basically invade Venezuela. Not really invade Venezuela, that's a bad way to put it, but that the UN should insert itself into Venezuela under the conditions of, like, fucking election monitoring. That's the word I was looking for. Like, it is not hard, and the UN has done it a ton of times, to go into some other country and to basically say, hey, we've got this military stuff here. We're not going to use it, but we are going to monitor your elections. And, all this stuff is here to make sure that whatever fucking way the election turns out, that's the way the government functions. Okay? The UN has done that before, and I was advocating for the UN to do it back in 2024 when the fucking election that is in contention here happened in the first place. So don't come back at me. Go back to 2022, 2023, and research the atrocities. So once again, I don't care what argument you bring to me. I don't care if you tell me that Nicolas Maduro wanted to personally assassinate every human being in his country, okay? I don't care. I am still not going to advocate for America to carpet bomb them. I'm sorry. There is no amount of propaganda article that you can show me. There's no fucking impassioned argument that you can make to me that will make me think, yeah, okay, American intervention in a foreign country and completely setting up a new government that we own and control is a good idea. Sorry. I'm anti-war. Love it or leave it, And when I say that, I don't mean, I'm not talking about the way conservatives use it. I'm saying, like, you can take that position or you can leave it, Like, you're not gonna you're not gonna get me off of it. So give up on that one. Let me guess, you're for defunding the police? Yeah, but it was perhaps the worst named kind of leftist movement in recent memory, honestly. By defunding the police, I mean taking away some of this, like, dystopian equipment that they largely only have because of concerned suburbanite white people that are terrified of black people coming into their neighborhoods and therefore want to see their police driving around every so often in a big armored Humvee that they bought off the military. I'm not for that. You see, I kind of think that's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And like a good Republican, I am all about small government. So I want to see those machines taken away from America's police departments. And I want to see the resources that would be spent on the maintenance of those machines spent instead on social services and on fixing the inequality gap and fixing the the rampant poverty in so many of these affected communities. Are you a Republican? No, I was making a joke. I was making a joke. I was just making the point that the joke there is that Republicans are constantly talking about how, defunding the police is bad, but they also want to talk about how they're small government, Like, you can either be for small government or you can be for funding the police and police budget and endlessly increasing the military budget. You can't be for both. Small government means small police. Police is a function of government. Thank you, Tommy Z. I appreciate the 99 cents. That is very kind of you. By the way, if anybody would like to make sure their comment or question gets read or answered, consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. Doesn't matter what you want to say, but that is the best way to get your voice to be included as part of the discourse. You can also send a Cash App donation. That is in my channel description. I'm checking that every so often. I can use those instantly, so those are even nicer in a way. Inequality is a thing because people don't understand money and value. That's not true at all. Inequality is the thing. Inequality is a thing largely because moneyed interests lobby to ensure that it remains a thing, and because people historical inertia ensures that people born will live in the conditions that they're born in. Like that's just kind of tautology, like you're gonna be raised in whatever conditions you're raised in, and like you can't help that. So people are born into systems, they replicate those systems and um, um, reproduce those systems basically because they don't know any better or because they're not taught any better. And the movements that would teach people how to live in better ways are suppressed by the moneyed interests who have a lot to lose from people learning how to live on their own independently of corporate power. Why are you arguing over nothing? I don't know. Why are you sitting in here listening to it? Go put your granny shirt back in the closet, you yoy neckbeard goblin. Man, what a fantastic comment. I'm sure glad I read that. Wasted my fucking life with that comment. Thank you, Melanie. Hey, girl, how's your day been going? I'm just glad to see you in here, girl. Pretty sure it's a male to female trans person. Yeah, it's MTF trans person. Yeah. You've caught me. How often do you live stream? I really enjoy listening to you speak, and having your voice in the background really helps me focus. I also like listening to situations like this from the LGBT POV. Cool. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I stream almost every night, sometimes more often, but the best way that you can catch them is to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Don't worry, I don't post videos all the time. I'm not streaming all the time, and I don't post a post every fucking day. So I'm not going to be flooding you with notifications. Don't worry. Love your shirt. Thank you, Melanie. I love this shirt too. It's one of my favorites. Why is no one talking about how the citizens of Venezuela are rejoicing their socialist dictator is gone? Because most of them aren't. Like a ton of the videos that have come out that claim to be Venezuelans celebrating the fall of Maduro have been shown to be AI. And there's plenty that, even if they're real, it's like people love to fucking celebrate once America comes in for the first few weeks. That's like very common. America comes into some country that we have no business being in, we fuck up some shit, we fuck up their dictator, and they're finally able to say fuck Maduro for the first time in 8 years, and they're like, holy shit, I'm so free. But then they realize they're not free to say fuck you to their American boss. They realize that they have some pretty insane expectations given of them. They realize that America is going to work their fucking asses to the bone, going to extract most of the profit from their country for American business interests, and is going to pay them jack shit, and is not going to bring any of the promised hallowed development to their cities and towns that was promised, but will rather develop things just enough to be like just as much as they have to be, right? So, the United States will develop some touristy areas and they'll develop mining areas and oil areas. But if you're just some rural fucking shit piss town in Venezuela that's got nothing but some plantations or whatever, you think you're getting a road out to your little village? No. That's not how America works. That's not how America does it. Do you know how the UN actually works? Serious. Do you know? Do you know? Thank you for the $1.99. But it's pretty freaking common for the UN to go to another country to monitor its elections. UN election monitoring is literally like one of the biggest fucking things that they're known for. So I don't know what your point is. And UN military force has been used a number of times in the past as well. What makes you an expert on this? I'm not an expert on this. I haven't claimed to be an expert on this. So why do squatters have rights? I missed your explanation. Because it's in the human best interest. Because property is theft. Property as we understand it in the modern day. Private property, I mean, not personal property. Like, this is mine. It's not all of ours. But the land I live on belongs to me only by happenstance, at least in my mind. And materially speaking, that's actually kind of how things work. Like, functionally, the people who own the land are like the only way you're able to enforce ownership by someone other than the occupier of a given piece of land is through complex systems like modern society, with all of its policing and highway patrols and security guards and shit like that, you know? Property is theft until the thieves are away. If we did this in a month, we'd be arrested and detained for dragging all our brains beyond the barbed wire chain and drinking on private land. Yes, I did model UN for 8 years. It requires Security Council to approve with the Big Five to agree. China would say no, thus no action would be taken. I don't think China would say no to that, though. Why would China say no? China was one of the fucking institutions that was criticizing Venezuela. Like, were they not? Am I just mistaken here? I'm pretty sure fucking China was one of the countries that was criticizing Venezuela's elections. Like, you know, I know that they've done business with them since, but whatever. I'm pretty sure China's going to do business with whoever the fuck is in charge down there. But I don't know that they would have. And I think even if they would have, I think that they could have been convinced. I think that pressure could have been put on China. Like, here's the thing. Like, even if even if there is some disagreement on this front, even if China doesn't want to agree because they don't want someone else to get into power, they don't want Maria Machado because she's going to establish a relationship with the United States instead of China, and she's going to be sending all that extra heavy crude to Gulf refineries instead of Chinese refineries. But I bet with enough pressure from the international community, they would have folded and we would have gotten their vote on that very important issue. I know we should have tried it. I know we should have tried it before going right to war. Not only that, but the Venezuelan government was largely willing to work with us. Like, there is no evidence in my mind that we even attempted actual real diplomacy with Venezuela. What about this is bad? Just you wait. I know I sound like a crazy person right now because the fucking evil dictator is gone and the wonderful America has showed up to fix everybody's problems and make the fucking clocks all run on time, right? I get it. Everybody's happy right now. Just wait a few minutes. That's all I'm telling you. Just wait a little while. Just get back at me in 6 months. I'll still be streaming. Get back at me in 6 months and let me know how the Venezuelan people feel about our presence in their country. Because it usually doesn't take them that long to decide that Halliburton and Weyerhaeuser and fucking Johnson and Johnson and shit don't have their best interests at heart. You know, like, I know, crazy surprise, ExxonMobil might not actually have Venezuelans' best interests at heart. Hell, even Donald Trump has said that we don't have Venezuelans' best interests at heart. This is not some positive act. There's no side to this that is good. We went into some foreign country that we ain't got no business being in, doing anything with, fucking with, or anything else, made up a bunch of excuses why we needed to attack them that just do not track with the facts, and then attacked them and kidnapped their leader, who I agree was a piece of shit, but we still had no right to fucking kidnap because he's not a fucking American citizen and therefore not subject to an arrest by the United States on his own country's soil. This is a basic fucking breakdown. This is such a basic and obvious breakdown of the international order that the fact that people can't see it makes me think that we must be more politically illiterate than I fucking thought. Shut up. How about you come make me, bitch? I hate hearing that shit. Garbage. No argument. The opposite of an argument. Dude, just yapping? Then go watch something else, Dylan. I ain't got you chained to the radiator, bitch. Do you see a handcuff on your wrist? I think you can find something else to watch if you don't like listening to me yap. But so far, it seems like plenty of people do. So something tells me that you're just like a whiny bitch that just likes to make yourself the main character in live streams. You're literally only letting subscribers have a speak in this open discussion you started. That's right against the idea of this. You're unreasonable and a hypocrite for this live. That's just the most retarded comment I've heard all day. Literally. Okay, I'll just show you what chat looks like when it's not on subscribers only mode, and you tell me how I'm supposed to read it. Don't ban anybody. Don't ban anybody, and let's just see what the chat is. Look at what the chat is without slow mode and sub mode. Everybody chat, come on, show this retard what chat looks like. with all of you taking off the leash. Let's see if it's literally even legible. Let's see if it's even readable. Message. 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 Literally, I can't read this. This is impossible to read. By the time I can fucking get the first few words into my head, the end of the message is disappearing out of the chat. This is garbage. Shut the fuck up and don't talk about my moderation policies. If you don't like it, go find someone else to watch. You're going to be alone forever? Sounds like a condition with which you are well familiar, Jay. Shut up, dude. How about you fucking make me, whiny little bitch? Shut up, please. How about you make me, whiny little bitch? Do you play guitar, and what's your favorite band? I do. And for $10 or more, you guys can get us, in Super Chats or Cash App donations, you guys can get a song on the guitar. You can keep it open to the public, just keep slow mode on. I think I'll leave it subs only, thanks. If someone is really so put aside by subscribing to the channel so that they can have a fucking conversation in here, then I don't want them in here to begin with. They are a person that thinks that they are the main character of life, that everyone else's policies need to align with what they personally want, that every human being needs to live their life according to their lights, and I just don't hang out with people like that. I don't have conversations with people like that. I'll have a conversation with a political fascist all day long, but a personal fascist? No. You run your life however you want it to. I run this one this way. What's your relationship with your father like? Better than it's ever been at any other point in my life, actually. Thank you for asking. Satan is your daddy. Oh, daddy. Wow, have you ever heard of keep it short and simple? Wow, have you ever heard of making an actual fucking argument or presenting something that can be interestingly used in a chat where people are actually reading? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to do here, friend? This is a live stream that is entirely predicated on me reading interesting chats out of the live chat. And when you type shit like that is meaningless and does nothing for the conversation but drip vitriol onto everyone's heads, it just makes me want to ban your ass out of here so hard your fucking grandkids feel it. Get with the program or get out. I find that ironic when I bet you want other people to affirm your self-proclaimed gender like who's a personal fascist. I don't give a fuck what you have to say about my gender. I don't give a fuck. I'm a woman. I know that. I give a shit what you have to say about it. Call me a man. You think I give a shit? I hear that 10,000 times a day from people in the live chat. I don't give a fuck. Never have, never will, not gonna start today. I give a fuck. Misgender me all you want. I give a fuck. I'm gonna correct you because you're an idiot for not obviously seeing that a person wearing a lacy blouse is a woman. But whether or not you keep up your retarded behavior is up to you, friend. Up to you. A lacy blouse doesn't make someone a woman. No, but if you call someone wearing a lacy blouse a man and refuse to listen when they do correct you that they are a woman, then you're just an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't care for your opinion. I don't consider it valid. Like, if that's like, I'm sorry, like, we can have an argument about it. I consider you worthy enough to have a debate with, but I do consider you an idiot. You will never be a woman? Thankfully, it's not random internet idiots on the fucking chat that get to determine whether or not I'm a woman or not. As it turns out, it's actually the fact that I am a trans woman who has had a bunch of therapy sessions regarding my gender dysphoria, who has seen a doctor regarding it, who has been recommended hormone replacement therapy, and a host of other sex reassignment related procedures. So, like, you know, go fuck yourself, I guess. Like, I don't give a shit what you think, you know? I really don't. Also, don't see how any of this is relevant to the Venezuela discussion that we were just having. The heavy dullness you feel in your chest that you try so hard to fill with comfort was forced upon you on purpose by the darkness of the world. That dullness can only be healed by the healer, Jesus. Give and get prayer. You are projecting your fucking feelings about life and the universe onto everyone else. I don't feel a dull weight on my chest, except sometimes when I wake up in the morning and I feel all weird, like it's all kind of fucking crazy and creepy, and I feel like there's a cat sitting on my chest. But that goes away after 2 or 3 seconds, and then I'm just like kind of nervous. But then that goes away after 30 or 40 seconds, and I'm fine. That's the only time I feel a heavy dullness on my chest. By the way, thank you so much for joining the membership. I did not catch that until just now. Chloe Rugg, thank you so much. By the way, joining the membership is one of the best ways you guys can support my channel. You get to see all kinds of live streams that I've already uploaded. So if you're a big fan of mine, that's a good chance to listen to a bunch more content where I'm having more chill discussions and things like that. But also, we do at least one members only live stream a week. Once again, at least one members only live stream a week, usually on Fridays. It's going to be a feature this year. Moving forward, we're going to be doing that. So please sign up for the membership. If you've got $2 or $3 to spare, it is super cheap and it entitles you to a lot. I think you're intelligent. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Why are you upset with the freedom of the oppressed Venezuelans? I don't know. Why are you so happy about the United States getting ready to install oil billionaires in a foreign country? Why are you so excited about warlike actions in a foreign country? Heard of Ozempic, man? Yeah, actually, I was just fucking your dad, and he was telling me about that. Telling me that like it's apparently like making him it's helping him achieve like real strides in his weight loss journey. Yeah. He was just sucking my dick earlier, and he was telling me all about it. How about allowing China, Iran, and Russia using Venezuela to do that exact same thing you claim USA is going to do? Huh? Once again, you are not going to fucking convince me that we need to be the world police. I don't believe in the concept. I do not believe that it is America's job to make sure that no other country allies in the wrong way with some other country. I think it's wrong when we do it. I also think it's wrong when Russia or China does it, but I don't think that we're the world police, so I think it would be more wrong for us to interfere with that process. Like, you would have to really fucking demonstrate some real, you would have to demonstrate some real human rights violations. Like, for example, one of these countries kidnapping that country's leader illegally in the middle of the night and shooting a bunch of service members that had nothing to do with it. You would have to demonstrate some real human rights violations like that to really give the justification. Oh, wait. That's kind of what we did. Please don't vape. Do whatever you want in your own life. I will continue living mine however I see please. Do you believe in science and chromosomes? You seem smart. Do you really think that chromosomes determine gender? If so, are you really sure you want to extend that standard all the way to bathrooms? Go look up Buck Angel right now and tell me that man needs to be in a woman's restroom. 110%? Well, then you're just a moron. I'm sorry, that's just stupid. Baseline stupid. Low IQ position. Only low IQ people think that you should be excluding people from bathrooms on the basis of their assumed gender. If you're going to start excluding people from bathrooms on the basis of their sex assigned at birth, then Buck Angel is going to have to go into a woman's bathroom. I'm telling you, I'm begging you, go look up a picture of Buck Angel and tell me that that man would be comfortable in a woman's restroom, or that there's a woman on the planet that isn't going to scream seeing the leg hair that that dude has from under the stall. Donald Marshall? I don't know who the fuck that is. What you think is some big dunk is some name I've never even heard of. Buck Angel is a woman? All right, throw him in a fucking woman's restroom and tell me how many women come screaming out of there. Okay, so Justin Boovie, Buck Angel is a woman. So exactly what part of her turns you on the most? Like, women are attractive, right? So are you attracted to Buck Angel's big, like, womanly beard, according to you? Or are you attracted to Buck Angel's, like, strong womanly muscles? Like, what is it exactly that makes you so convinced that Buck Angel is a woman? See, the weird thing is, if I hadn't told you that Buck Angel was trans, if I just told you to go look up Buck Angel and go look up pictures of them, if it weren't for the fact that YouTube's AI is automatically going to tell you that's a trans man, you wouldn't know, because Buck Angel passes flawlessly. You would never want Buck Angel in a woman's restroom, but because you need to want Buck Angel in a woman's restroom for this fucking narrative argument that you're making right now, you're going to say that they're a woman, which is the most retarded fucking thing I've heard all day. And I don't even like Buck Angel. I think he's a real fucking shit when it comes to like his own like trans medicalism and shit. But it just goes to show you, you people have no morals. You people have no principles. I don't even know who Buck Angel is. Sorry. Well, I've been telling you guys to look him up for the last 20 minutes. So if you guys haven't, sorry, your ignorance is on you. I don't have control over your phone, nor can I pull it up right now and show you. I'm sorry, I can't continue to watch this ignorance and hypocrisy. Be better, dude. I can't continue to read your fucking stupid arguments in chat. How about you be better? Come back in 2 days, right? So you've been timed out for 24 hours. Come back in 2 days when you've learned how to make a fucking argument instead of just talking shit. Because I don't have an hour, I don't have a dollar or a dime or a moment of my time for an idiot with no arguments. I'm here to have arguments with people. I'm here to have discussions with people. I'm not here to have my time wasted by people that think their particular brand of vitriolic moron bullshit is the most worthy fucking content online. Do you listen to rap? Sometimes. Sometimes. There's been too many comments on gender. I don't know what to talk about anymore. Well, I want to talk about Venezuela. I want to talk about our interference in foreign countries, but like as is the case, like a lot of the time when a queer person is online, the only thing people can see or think about or talk about is the fact that I'm trans. Look at that. I just became a member to support you. More power to this live stream. This is too much. More power for this live stream. This is too much. Oh, I'm sorry. You should stick around just to make sure that the chat stays nice, you know? Like we need more people that are being nice. We need more people that are interested in having actual conversations. Please turn to Jesus, bro. I'm not going to read the rest of that. I'm not going to turn to Jesus. Was raised in Christianity, abandoned it when I was 13, never going to turn back. Please stop trying to convert me. Please read my message. No. The only messages that I read are random messages I selected out of the chat and super chats and Cash App donations. For those, I will scroll up or check my notifications. When America came in with investors for oil, roads, hospitals, and universities were built, people from Spain would go to work in Venezuela and over 25 years ago before Maduro's bullshit. I understand all this. I understand that America was able to bring some relative level of prosperity for a while, but what America also did, was support governments who created and maintained policies that made it difficult for everyday working class Venezuelans to move up. It really did not address much of the class inequality there. America really did not provide much in the way of like training and expertise. Like a lot of the people, like you said, a lot of people moved there from Spain to go work good jobs there that they were qualified for, but that most Venezuelans weren't qualified for. And there was really no effort to make average Venezuelans qualified. It was actually the efforts of Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro that brought so many Venezuelans to literacy, for example, and that reduced the wealth inequality in Venezuela. Like, you know, good, bad, right, or wrong, there are lots of things that were horrible about Maduro's rule and Chavez's rule, like political repression and corruption being the two chief among them. But as far as like making the plight of the actual average fucking Venezuelan better, they were successful in that plight. He doesn't answer what doesn't suit him. Stop misgendering me or I'll never answer your fucking question you send in here for the rest of your life. I love your vibe, girl. May I ask, are you pagan? I see the pentagram in the background, just asking. I mean, I'm kind of pagan. I would just call myself more of like a nature worshiper in general, but yeah, I'm kind of pagan. Why is forced regime change bad when the citizens of said country are asking for other countries to help, like Iran, North Korea, Myanmar, and Venezuela? Because the citizens of those countries are not asking for Americans to come invade. Like the vast majority of sources you'll see citing this and cited about this are just like literally just straight up AI videos of people celebrating and everything. And like yeah, like I'm sorry, I'm not compelled by. I don't think just because somebody asks you to hurt them means that you should. I don't know. Like, call me crazy, but I think that merely because Venezuelan citizens are asking for something that they don't understand the full breadth of doesn't mean you should grant them that. And, you know, if you don't like that position, then I would rather someone present me with a reason why. My Venezuelan friends are celebrating and their whole family says it's wrong that Trump wants the oil, but Venezuelans are happy. They're happy for right now, like I said. They're happy for right now. Let's just see how happy they are in a year or two. That's all I'm saying. Sure, yeah, I have not denied. People keep acting like I'm denying that Venezuelans are happy about this. I'm not. I'm sure they are. They're wrong to be. They are wrong to be happy about this. It's not a good idea. It's not a good thing. And I don't know why we fucking are normalizing it. I would apply the same argument you're using about the Venezuelan people not being understanding of what they're asking for to your argument of allowing trans people to use other bathrooms. So your argument is that I just don't know what I'm talking about. Well, that's not an argument. I'm sorry. In that particular case, that's not much of an argument. You need to understand, like, you need to be able to explain why, right? Because when I say the Venezuelans shouldn't be happy about that, right? I can explain why. I can explain that America does not have a good track record with our invasions of foreign countries. I can explain that America, in fact, has a horrible track record with those things. I can explain that we have a tendency to make things worse in countries. I can explain that we are just economically interested in Venezuela and not interested in peace and democracy there. I can explain a billion different reasons why they shouldn't be celebrating, but you did not list a single reason why I'm full of shit for thinking that trans people should be able to use whatever bathrooms they feel comfortable in. The feeling in the AM, ask Jesus for help, try it. You're fucking you're gone. Sorry, dude. You're just lost. You're completely lost. It was a joke. You're taking things way too seriously, and you have given your life over to a belief that means nothing to me. I had no idea the geopolitical effect of using the women's restroom was so severe. I know, right? Who would have guessed? Under Maduro's government, Venezuela's currency has lost 80% of its value. Maduro lost his election and refused to leave office. Trump. Oh, shit. Are you also upset with Maduro? Not. Yes, I'm fucking. God damn it. Oh my God, man. I am so sick of this garbage. Just because someone doesn't like the US intervening in a foreign country doesn't mean that they want that fucking dictator to stay in place forever. And I have illustrated a million times in this stream what exactly I think should be done to rectify the situation. How is he lost? Because he believes in something he don't. He's lost because he's given it over to his life to the point where he's paying someone else to proselytize, which is just not like that. I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as a good expenditure of your money. I don't know. What is your opinion on Japan ending the trade? I know nothing about it. Okay, Chad, here's an exercise. If you're under 18 and if you think you're smarter than Phoebe, type a 1 in chat. Yeah, literally. If you're under 18 and you think you're smarter than me, type a 1. Bro is just talking to talk. And Justin Boovie has been in here for the whole fucking time listening to me talk, too. You love it. You love sitting here listening to me bloviate. You've illustrated nothing, only spoke. Okay, interesting equivocacy there. No, it was your subconscious speaking. You feel heaviness in your heart. No, it was not my subconscious speaking. I don't feel any heaviness in my heart, and I feel deeply uncomfortable when people like you proselytize to me. Do you have a job? Yes, I make money on YouTube. I'm a monetized YouTuber, have been for almost a year. That $2 you spent was not permission to spam in my chat forever. Don't forget to unsubscribe before leaving. You know how many people have fucking already left and didn't get that little piece of advice, you moron? That's not a job? Okay, Jimmy Winters. Cool. Well, it pays my bills and it pays for my fucking weed habit, my nicotine habit, so it's as good a job as I want to have. Pays my taxes. Pays my taxes, pays my bills, pays for my weed habits. It's as close to a job as I need it to be. Why don't you have a Google Fi line number open for people to call in and respectfully debate? Because I don't have a second cell phone to host it on. Literally, that is the reason. Like, once I get to the point of support through the channel that I'm able to upgrade my cell phone, I'm going to be doing something like that. I don't know if it'll be a Google Fi number, or it'll be a Skype number, or what. But yes, I'll have something like that where people can call in and we can do live debates. And it's already a feature of some of my weekend streams, my desktop streams. I look like a 50-year-old Greek lady. Thanks. Thank you. I kind of do. Definitely better than reading this chat. Yeah, this chat is fucking horrible. Read both messages on either side of mine. Didn't read mine out because it made too much sense. Yikes. Man, once again, just a massive, massive amount of insecurity. You're simply afraid of having a real conversation. You insult every person that goes against you. No, I'm simply uninterested in being proselytized to. You are not interested in having a real conversation. You were literally just spamming the same fucking thing over and over and over again earlier, which is why I timed your ass out, because you aren't interested in having a conversation. You're interested in getting me to subscribe to your belief and pay your preachers a month. Sorry, not interested. Bye. 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 Be gone now. I'm glad it was done, but I agree America can't be trusted to make moves like this based on their history. Maybe if it was a UN's thing where multiple countries follow some rules and stuff on this. That's all I'm asking for, but I'm called an anti-American for this position and all this other shit. All I'm asking for is, yeah, I do think that there needed to be some intervention in Venezuela. I think it should have been done by, like international action, international cooperation. Like, okay, if the UN won't do it because China's a member state and they're part of the Big Five, then let's have NATO do it. Like, at the very least, at least if you did it with NATO, then you would have like some kind of fucking accountability. Like, you would have some kind of fucking accountability and some kind of paper trail for all this garbage. But you don't. You would have some kind of fucking accountability, but you don't. Instead, we have the unaccountable ass American fucking government, which we know to be unaccountable because Donald Trump has basically defied the Supreme Courts multiple times and just been like, do not command what you cannot enforce, So we can't trust the U.S. government, but we could probably trust NATO. At least we could trust NATO a little bit more than we can trust the current U.S. government. But none of that was even tried. What does NATO have to do with Venezuela? Considering the fucking argument being made for us invading Venezuela is that they pose a danger to the United States, which is a NATO member country. That's how it involves NATO. America, a NATO member country, is making the claim that Venezuela is a foreign hostile adversary that needs to be dealt with by military action. Okay, so the reasonable fucking conclusion from that, in fact, is actually to involve NATO. Literally, that is literally the thing to do. I don't get the argument of Venezuelans being happy for multiple reasons. Someone did the same and took Trump, there would be a lot of people happy too, for one. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. Like, are you guys under the impression that people wouldn't be fucking screaming for joy if Trump went away? But I bet we would be pretty fucking sad in 2 years or whatever when we realize what a sucky country it was to live under China or whatever. Like, I just don't think colonialism has good outputs over the course of its existence. I don't think the colonial attempts tend to produce good outcomes. We could have UN get involved and have done things more peacefully. UN, NATO, there are a number of international organizations that we could have collaborated with if we really wanted to make sure that the Venezuelan people's voice was being heard in their elections. We don't, we didn't, that was never the point. Gender neutral bathrooms are scary. That's why I don't use the one in my apartment. I shit outside. Yeah, they are very terrifying. I just, piss in a bush and shit outside when I need to. Colonialism is good for the empire doing the colonizing? Not really. Not in the long term. In the long term, colonialism usually just ends up being like a giant investment sink into some other place that eventually ends up turning against you and costing you a bunch more money in the pullout. That's what colonialism tends like. That's literally what British colonialism in the United States produced, or in the Americas, I should say. British colonialism in the Americas produced, well, the United States of America, which, at first it was just the 13 colonies. They revolted against Britain. Why did they revolt against Britain? Well, because they were sick. The bourgeoisie over here was sick of having to pay an absurd amount of fucking their money and profit off to some other country when they could just be keeping it here for themselves and enriching themselves at an even greater rate. Why should they have to do that when they could do that? And as a result, we fought a long and bloody war with Great Britain, separated ourselves, and cost the British Empire at least as much as it had spent building America up in its pullout. So literally, America was one of the first notable examples of what you can now call the Iraq lesson, or the Venezuela lesson, or the Colombia lesson, or the Libya lesson, or really any of the fucking countries done the same kind of thing too in the aftermath. UN, NATO, etc. most likely take years to take action. Hundreds of Venezuelan citizens were dying daily. We are not going to sit by and allow that to happen in our own backyard. Then why are we allowing it to happen with so many of our other fucking countries? Like, what? Why do we allow it to happen with Saudi Arabia? Why do we allow it to, like, I just don't buy this argument. So hundreds of Venezuelans were dying daily and it was our fucking, number one, where's your evidence for that? Number two, does that mean it's our job to go in there and invade? And number three, if hundreds of people dying daily means that you need to invade a place, America's been due for invasion for a while, friend, because hundreds of people die every day in America. Hundreds of people die every day in America from lack of health care, from police misconduct, from institutional abuse and neglect. Hundreds of people a day die because of the blasé attitudes of American government and American government officials. So when are we going to be invaded, friend? Can you point me towards a source on that, DLU3? Like, can you point me towards, like not the Heritage Foundation, not like a right-wing think tank, because I've looked at, like, a number of sources that say that it's actually quite the opposite, that Venezuelans were doing pretty much okay, that the main danger to a Venezuelan in terms of, like, Maduro's regime was talking shit on the Maduro regime. Like, the political repression and corruption were the big thing. Like, yeah, those are not, it's nothing to sneeze at, but it's a damn far sight short of hundreds of people dying a day in some mystery genocide that nobody was talking about. There's no evidence listed in this stream, so please don't ask people to show evidence. I will, considering the fact that I can point people towards my statistics. How do I know that how do I know that hundreds of Americans die every day due to fucking, do like, how do I know that, let me say this much, hundreds of people every year. Maybe it's not hundreds of people a day. Hundreds of people a day do die in America because people just die all the time. But, you know, hundreds of people die every year to police misconduct. My evidence for that, FBI statistics. Hundreds of people die every year to bad medical care. My source for that, you can actually look at a lot of different institutions for this, but I believe the American Medical Association has studied it. Like it just depends. Like, you know, like, do you want a good source to look at for gender questions? Look at the Mayo Clinic. You know, like, I can point you guys towards sources, but no one can ever point me towards any. The ratio is completely different. America is the top 3 countries in the world based off population. I don't think Venezuela is even top 30. So if hundreds are dying there because the ruler is corrupt, I haven't seen anyone demonstrate that hundreds of people are dying in Venezuela. This is the first time I'm even hearing this fucking idea. This is the first time I'm even hearing the idea. Dude, this is it's so hilarious. The third of Americans that are okay with this invasion are so schizophrenic. You guys are literally the most schizophrenic group of politically involved people in America's history, because, like, some of you think that it is about the oil and that's good because we're going to get cheap oil, and some of you think that it's about the drugs and that's good because we're rid of all those drug traffickers, and some of you guys think it's about the fucking freedom and health of the Venezuelan people, and that's good because we're going to do good things over there and it's going to be great. And, like, none of you seem to even be open to the possibility that this could turn out bad. People are so schizophrenic on this shit. You know, at 5 p.m. they're saying it's about oil and that's great because we're going to get cheaper fucking oil. And then 30 minutes later, they're telling you about how it's about fucking the peace and freedom of the Venezuelan people. And when you've defeated that argument, they move on to, well, they were shipping a lot of drugs to America. And when you finally defeat all that, what you're finally left with is their real position, which is, well, I just think that America should dominate the whole world. I just think that we're allowed to conquer whoever we want. And if another country doesn't like it, well, you know, tough titty, said the kitty when the milk went dry. That's their real position. That's what people actually believe. And I wish they would just start saying it out loud instead of hiding behind this, oh, Venezuelan people, oh, or hiding behind this, like, oh, it's for, you know, like, we gotta secure those oil resources. Like, yeah, that is a primary driving motivator of it. But acting like that's the only motivator of it, you know, is just so short-sighted. Like, there really are just a bunch of people, at least a third, according to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, who, in my opinion, they don't have any real belief about this shit. They just think, in general, they just have a kind of general, vague sense that the world belongs to the United States and that we are free to conquer wherever we want. And that if there was some other country that disagrees, well, they should challenge us in battle, and let's just see who wins. I mean, Trump himself said it was about the oil, didn't he? Yeah, it is. So why that's the thing. I know, and I agree that it's about the oil, but my thing is, it's mostly Trump supporters that agree with this invasion. Like, 26% of independents agree with it, 11% of Democrats agree with it, but 65% of Republicans agree with it. Okay? So the vast majority of people who agree with this shit are Republicans and right-wingers. And they are now coming to me making the argument, oh, well, it's for the health. Like, you know, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, notice how much war propaganda is being spun up right now. Because whenever you have one person, the president, telling you that it's all about oil, and then you have the media and all of his little cronies and all of his little butt buddies online and everything trying to make it out like it's about the health and safety of the Venezuelan people, And then you have this whole other side narrative going on about the drugs and ending the drug trafficking that's also being propped up by the president, but it's also being propped up by some commenters online. You just end up with this completely muddled, multiple choice, pick your favorite manufactured consent. It's like literally multiple choice manufactured consent. It's like it's it's manufactured consent for the McDonald's age. Because if you're a Republican, 65% of you guys support the fucking war, so you got to figure out some way to do it. And Trump, in his infinite wisdom, has given you guys three different options. It can be about the oil if you want to just be outright and brazen about it, or it can be about the good and safety of the Venezuelan people if that's what you want to make it about, or it can be about drug trafficking. If you want it to be, you can follow the Kegseth line. Pick your poison, pick your reality, it doesn't matter. Address the neoconservative reasons for supporting it, please. Oh my God. I'm very well versed in geopolitics, and you have not once addressed the security risk Venezuela posed. I don't think. See, I don't think Venezuela does pose a security risk. I think it's a neoconservative project to make Americans feel as though America is secretly at war with the rest of the world, and that we need to fill the world with good allies of America, with American friendly governments who are going to make America friendly deals. This is a neoconservative idea that I do not agree with, that I do not hold to, and that I do not believe in. I do not think that Venezuela was a security threat, because I don't think that it makes any more sense for Venezuela to attack America than it would make for Iran to attack America or China to attack America. And I think that America, has made it pretty fucking clear over the last 50 years that we are going to treat the allies of other countries as if they are those countries in times of war. So, like, China knows that if their little puppet state Venezuela attacks America, then it's going to be hell to pay for China and Venezuela. Russia knows that if its little Cuban puppet state attacks America, there's going to be hell to pay for Cuba and for Russia. And you guys know this too. And so the new neoconservative line is not, because back in the 70s, right? Back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, the line was that Soviet Russia posed this huge danger to us because they had all these hidden weapons and all these secret, horrible weapons that they could deploy at us at any time, and we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. And nowadays, we all pretty much know that that's bullshit. We all pretty much understand that there is a strong response that's going to come from any kind of direct attack on America. And so now they've refitted the rhetoric to fit a different narrative now. So now the narrative about these countries is that Venezuela, Cuba, Colombia, all these different countries in South America are going to be used not as direct locations for some kind of direct tangible attack on America, but rather as bases of operation for surveilling and for, uh, you know, for shipping drugs in, right? Like this Venezuela narrative says. And none of it is backed up by the evidence. None of it is backed up by independent third parties. It's all a hallucination of neoconservatives who want to enact the visions of Leo Strauss and want to make that the standard by which American governance is conducted. I think neoconservatives are the literally the worst political ideology to ever happen in American history. Literally, I think there has never been a more damaging political ideology that's ever had a foothold in America. That's including, by the way, the KKK. I consider neoconservatives actually more dangerous than the Klan because the Klan never managed to attain institutional power, really. Like the Klan got some small towners and shit, and they've managed to get a little bit of institutional power in the local areas in which they operate, and sometimes, but nowhere near on the level of institutional power that neoconservatives have managed to enact. And the neoconservatives don't just fuck on black people; they want to fuck on black people, people of color, queer people, and anybody else that they can on their way to the top. and they are willing to engage in any war they want to secure American billionaire profits, while claiming that it's for the good and the moral, for the moral virtue of America, right? Claiming that we have a unique destiny to fight terrorism, to fight evil in the world, and to bring about good and democracy. This is a myth. A myth that thinkers like Leo Strauss told his students back at the University of Chicago that they, as the elites, did not need themselves to personally believe in, but that they merely needed to convince us dummies on the bottom to believe it. You know what the other myth was? The myth of religion, the myth of God, the myth of faith. Strauss was very, very particular. He instructed his students that it is not important that they, the academic and governmental elite, believe in these things personally. In fact, it's better if they don't. But they need to make sure that we, the masses, believe in them, because according to people like Leo Strauss and other neoconservative thinkers, a nation simply isn't safe unless all of its citizens believe more or less the same thing. They've got to have at least some uniting beliefs. And it's really good if one of them is God, because then you can get them to believe a whole, a whole nother crock of bullshit on top of it, on top of the two things you're already drilling in their head every second of every day. You really think you have it all figured out? I pretty much do. What sucks is when you get it all figured out, everybody wants to come around telling you how you got it wrong. And then you got to explain to them. I will say, though, this scam is not a hard one to see. You ain't exactly got to be a genius to see this scam. And currently, trans people don't have equal rights. That's a good point to bring up. So, if you guys can't see the very public connections between Russia, China, Venezuela, amongst other aggressive nations, I don't know how to help you, but we are in very real danger because of it. Why, Colby? Are you under the impression that China, Russia, or any of these other countries is going to use Venezuela to attack us directly? Colby, answer that. Answer that for me. Phoebe, isn't it valid to be concerned at this time? What do you mean? I mean, yeah, do you support Ukraine? Um, Complicated. Okay, so you think they're going to do, so what makes you think that they're going to do like some direct attack on us? Why would they do it through Venezuela and not directly do it right now? Like, what is preventing China or Russia from striking us right now, right this second? Russia has ICBMs. China has ICBMs. They don't need Venezuela to attack us. Are you kidding? Russia's got MIRVs. I think China's got MIRVs at this point. They don't need Venezuela to attack us. So what are you afraid of? Why does USA want bases in Japan? So that we can control that country's economy. The same reason we want bases in Venezuela. So we can control and tap that country's economy, mainly. And yeah, we do want them as a military outpost. I mean, it is better for us if we can get our superiority in Russia like that. Should we choose to launch some kind of full on conflict, or should they choose to launch one with us? Yeah, of course. We want bases near them, but we don't need our base in Japan to attack Russia. You don't know what you're talking about? Well, you don't know what you're talking about either, because you haven't presented an argument. So right back at you, friend. I don't know. We can't serve in the U.S. military. That is true. That is one right that trans people don't have. Hello, Muggle Chops. What do you say for those who are saying we freed people from the dictatorship? I say that America is not in the business of freeing people from dictatorships. If we free people from the dictatorship, then why was the vice president allowed to ascend to the presidency? The vice president, by the way, that was on Maduro's ticket and approved by Maduro. If we're trying to rid them of an evil dictator, then why are we allowing so much of the administration to remain? Why did we just arrest 2 people? You really think that those 2 people are responsible for all the corruption in Venezuela? You really think so? You really think it was just the charisma of just those 2 people? I doubt that very severely. So I would tell them they're full of shit, and I would also say, even if the Venezuelan people do get a higher degree of civil liberties in the wake of this, what they gain in civil liberties, they will lose in economic freedom. Do you want to serve, though? I actually did before Trump won. Yeah. I've actually lost like 50 pounds over the course of the last, over the course of over the last year, because I started losing weight in summer of 2024, because that was when me and my ex first got pregnant together. And I thought that like this was before I started like streaming and shit, not long before I started streaming, but this was before I started making content actively and long before I got monetized. So it was kind of like an idea for me to kind of reset my life a little bit and set myself up a little better. But then Trump won the election, and I knew trans people would be excluded from the military, so I reoriented my life direction. What branch? I was looking into the Navy. The Navy tried to recruit me out of high school, like super hard. And looking back on it, I kind of wish I'd done it, because if I had, I'd be out by now. If I just went and did it. And back then, I weighed a lot less too. And even the recruiter that showed up, she was kind of chubby, and she was like, I mean, "You can probably tell from me, you don't have to be like super skinny to be in the Navy." And I was like, "Well, I assume you kind of have to get that way to get through basic training." She was like, less so than the Army or Marines, but yeah, kind of a little bit. She basically was like, she was trying to tell me, like, kid, yeah, okay, you're too fat right this second, but you weigh little enough that you could lose that shit and be ready for our pre-program or whatever it is, in like 2 months. She really wanted me to join. She was fucking obsessed with my ass. Literally, I've never had a recruiter come to my house except that Navy recruiter. Fight for your rights then, like African Americans? I mean, I do try to fight for my rights to the extent which I can. Are you talking about like protesting and stuff? You're criticizing USA imperialism, but you wish you joined the Navy. That's its entire purpose. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess that is kind of hypocritical on a certain level, but like, I feel like it rings of the same color that you criticize fucking capitalism, and yet you have an iPhone. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is kind of hypocritical, but it's a degree of hypocrisy which, is not that easily avoided. Like here in America, if you like now I can't do it. I literally can't do it. So there's no point of me even thinking about it. And by the time literally by the time I will be eligible to again, like by the time there's another Democrat in and they change the policy around and everything, I'm going to be too old to fucking join anyway. Well, I guess I'll be 5 years away from being too old. So, you know. I might just be rejected anyway. But um, point is, in America, pretty much any kind of socialist kind of help, any kind of like class ascension is like gate kept behind military service. It's like if you are a poor person, pretty much your only real avenue for getting out of poverty and into the middle class is the military. Like, I guess you can also, like, really just fucking study hard as hell and get all your grades right, and then go to college for a career field that is one you meticulously research to make sure there's plenty of demand in, and you go just long enough to get the specific fucking certification that you need to go on to this next step. Like, if you take every fucking step right and never fuck up and never party and never do anything like that, then yeah, maybe you can ascend from the very poorest to the middle class. But that is a fraught fucking road. It's a lot easier to just party for 3 years, join the military, spend 6 years fighting for your country, and get out and enjoy all the socialism. You know, enjoy all the fucking medical care, enjoy the like VA loans that allow you to start a business or buy your house or whatever. You know, enjoy the veterans discounts and the access to services and training that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten access to. You know, like there's plenty of people who use their military career too to prepare themselves for a way better career in the civilian world. You know, like they're like an engine tech or something, and so it becomes very easy for them to take these classes that are either paid for through their um, like through the programming that the DoD affords them, or it's something that's cheap and they can pay for, and they train themselves for some or get training for a career out in the civilian world that is way better paid than what they probably would have had access to without that training. You know, like I think that there's a logical argument to be made for even the lefty people joining the military to like have access to a higher class level, because I think that the other path, at least for most people in America, is a path so fraught that most people can't walk it. There's a reason why, despite their best efforts, most of the fucking people you knew in high school are not doing anything all that fancy these days. They're a manager at Walmart. They're a fucking customer service person at McDonald's, you know? They're a fucking fruit packer, you know? They're not doing much. And the reason for that is because despite your best efforts, despite getting all A's and B's, you can still end up in a shitty dead end job because, like, you know, sorry, you fucking, sorry, you got arrested at a party one time, and so you're not going to be able to work any of these good jobs for 5 years at least, or sorry, we caught weed on you one time, that's on your record, and now none of these small town employers that pay well will hire you. Maybe that's different now, I guess, but like, it is not that easy for people to rise through the ranks of America's class structure, and so I really don't judge people who choose the military as a way to do that. Yeah, there have been several court cases fought, and I believe some still ongoing through the ACLU on the topic of trans people in the military. 100% true. By the way, I'm going to be getting out of here soon, so I will be getting off here soon, and you guys need to send in any last super chats, any last donations, anything like that, because we are going to be getting off here pretty soon, because we've been streaming for almost 2 hours, and it's about how long we normally stream. Please don't leave us. I'm sorry, thrifting things. Winston, no. Now I'm going to stay forever because Winston said bye. Next time you want to be intellectually dishonest, do it to a different mod. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Margot's throwing down the gauntlet. That's awesome. God, I'm cold. I want my arms to be covered, but I also want to smoke. It's the forever fucking problem. I need to be up in 3 hours. You leave and I finally sleep. I always say bye when you're getting off. Well, I know. I know, Winston. I know it. You guys are nice. But once again, any last super chats, any last cash apps, anything like that, any last support you want to send into the stream or likes you want to leave or anything like that, this is your invitation to do so. This is basically last call at the bar. How do you get insurance if you're a YouTuber? I don't. I don't make enough to afford health insurance on my own. Eventually, I guess I probably will get to a point where I can. But as of right now, I don't. I mean, in theory, anyone can get insurance through the health insurance marketplace. You know, like you don't need to be employed to get insured through the marketplace. I will be right back. And then we'll do the final 5 minutes. Oh, dude. The weather outside right now reminds me of the first time I ever fucked someone in my car. It's like a little muggy and it's cold, but it's not too cold. It's that Mississippi winter. My sister is an insurance agent. She got me free insurance for a long while through the marketplace. Oh, that is dope. That is dope. You know, of your two sisters, I bet I know which one is the insurance agent. That's not to say anything mean about the other one. She's a cool cat. She's a cool cat for sure. I'm stuck in my job for the insurance. LOL, I go broke without it. I don't blame you a bit. There's a lot of people in that position. I mean, it's only through sheer luck that I'm able to get by as well as I do without insurance. I mean, I've got problems that should be getting treated by a doctor, not least of all my medical transition, which is not coming along at the rate I'd like it to because I haven't had insurance in so long. I think my message got filtered because I had a website in it. Oh, I'm sorry. That happens sometimes. I bet you do, LOL. Well, come on. I that sounded mean, and I didn't mean it to. God damn it. They just have two very different personalities, that's all. Or at least it seems like they do. They definitely have two different, like, sets of interests. One's more Maroon 5, the other's more My Chemical Romance. I don't know how else to put it. Another one just got out of prison in October and she's back at it already. Oh, man. Poor Taylor's sister, whose name I'm not gonna say. No, that's okay. She's been a real chud lately. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. You know, Taylor, you are the one who, by explaining the connection that your sister had to the song, helped me like the song, She Will Be Loved. Like, it is literally driving to Chillicothe with that song playing and you explaining the meaning that it had that made me like that song for after years of hating it. Now I hear it and I actually sit and listen and I'm like, she won't accept help. What can you do? She's a grown adult. Oh yeah, I mean, ultimately that is kind of the, that's the situation that you get in, like that's the understanding that you have to come to eventually with certain people, like it's an understandable impulse to help. And I think that it's always a good thing to have the hand outstretched in case they want to grab it. But you can't make someone grab it. Can't force someone to grab it. That's why we need some state-backed healthcare like Oregon Health Plan for the whole country. If someone makes and covers the healthcare via OHP, that is awesome. Yes, we do need we need some healthcare like that. 100%. And I just think it should be universal. But yeah, we could start it off. Like Bernie Sanders' idea was to basically do it by reducing the age at which a person is eligible for Medicare. So, or Medicaid or Medicare, whichever one it is, the one that's like comprehensive health coverage. And, so I think it was Medicare. So it's like, first you reduce it down to 55, then you reduce it down to 45, then you reduce it down to 35, and then you make it universal and everybody gets it. But I think it would be an even better idea to start it out with income levels. Like first, everybody making $50,000 or less in the United States now has their insurance paid for. Now has that's just covered. And, as we get more and more, right? Oh man, I love to fantasize about what the United States healthcare system might look like if we actually fucking went away from privatization and towards collectivization. Phoebe, things are making me nervous. Well, Pink Fur, I'll tell you what I've told other people. Don't be too nervous. Nobody's going to bomb us, okay? Because we're not going to bomb any of the big five, all right? We're not going to bomb Saudi Arabia. We're not going to bomb China. We're not going to bomb Russia. We're not going to bomb Western Europe, and those are the countries that could attack us back, which is not to say that that's okay. It's not to say that it's a good thing or anything like that. It's just to say, like, if you're an American, don't worry so much about the kind of retaliation that might happen because it's very unlikely that we will be retaliated against personally. And in the event of retaliatory strikes against the United States, you are almost certainly not in the target area. 99.9% of Americans are not. You would have to live not just in a place like LA, but very close to the port or the military bases. You would have to live very close to a port or to military bases to be anywhere near the combat area or the target area for any planned invasion or retribution into America. So, if you live in some bedroom community out in California or Oregon or Washington or whatever, Mississippi or Missouri, don't worry about it. You're not going to be targeted. Could be terrorist attacks though. Yeah, but that happens randomly, unpredictably. Like there has been no evidence over the course of the war on terror. Has there been any evidence that compels you to believe that we have actually gotten good at detecting terror attacks? That we've gotten good at figuring out where they're going to happen or what the implications are going to be? I don't think we have. I don't think that all the surveillance in the world has helped us in that arena. And as a result, I don't think anyone needs to worry about a terrorist attack because you have no way of predicting it. You have no way of acting in accordance with not like there's no way to avoid victimizing yourself in that situation. It's not like when you're talking about like, if you're in some town, there might be a bad neighborhood that if you stay out of it, you can pretty much avoid most of the crime. Whereas it's not the case here, like with terrorist attacks, like are either going to experience one or you're not, and 99.9% of people are never going to be adjacent to a terrorist attack. They are so fucking rare. So rare. Even in the aftermath of events like this. When I used to Safeway, I didn't qualify because I made more, but now I do again, so at least I don't have to worry too much. It needs to be way more, though. Yeah, 25,000 is chump change these days. It's barely anything. I 100% agree. Damn, 578 viewers. Oh, whoops, stream didn't update. Yeah. Well, I had 500 and something at one point, though. We had like 600 at the top. Portland has an Air Force / National Guard base here. It's at the airport here, and I doubt anyone would do anything to the mainland, but Oregon has at least one big target. Yeah, I mean, any state, like every state in the Union's got at least one target in it, you know? Like even Maine's got a military base in it somewhere, I'm sure. I don't know where exactly at, but I'm sure they got one. So yeah, like in theory, every fucking state in the Union has a target on it somewhere. But, you know, it's like military bases and military installations that they're going to be targeting. And, you know, military installations is a pretty fucking small target list. Like the United States is not littered with nothing but military installations. Although, one thing you should be on the lookout for and aware of, right, is the fact that, well, I don't want it to sound like that because I don't want to sound like I'm fear mongering, but I just like, dude, in the event of an attack on America, like the only way you should be worried is if you're in a big city, like in a really big city or in a city big enough to have a few factories in it. And really, even then, the only kind of factories you really need to worry about is if they work with heavy equipment or war machines. So if they're a weapons manufacturer or a heavy equipment kind of earth moving manufacturer, both of those stay well away from. But otherwise, you're fine. And if you're worried about like getting drafted or something like that, don't. They're not going to redo the draft. And if anything, they're just going to increase the amount of sign-on bonuses and shit. And, you know, maybe eventually they'll rescind the order against trans people joining. Like, there's things that they could do right now to up recruitment if they needed to. So don't worry about getting drafted. In general, I would tell you not to worry about the Venezuela situation if you're an American from the standpoint of your life personally being affected. It's not going to affect your life very much, but that's why it's important for you to care from the detached, adjacent perspective of a person whose tax dollars are being manipulated and misspent to bomb a foreign country with whom we have no issue. You don't need to be worried because ultimately you've got no skin in the game, but you do need to be condemnatory because what little skin you do have in the game is invested through your taxes. We were in and out quick. My boy from Venezuela, and he's happy he can move back to his country soon. I like the fact they free. I like the fact that their dictator was removed from power, but I don't like the fact that the rest of his regime was left. I don't like the fact that the entire rest of the government system, which was just as corrupt as fucking Maduro and his wife were, I don't like the fact that they were left, you know, like, I mean, I guess I do in the sense that it's less U.S. intervention in their country, and I don't in the sense that it makes it obvious that it's just a fucking decapitation move, that it's just literally a way for Donald Trump to show off his power. Well, not even Donald Trump really, but for Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth to show off their power, flex for the world, and make everybody afraid, you know? Like, I don't think it's legitimate. I think if they were actually trying to, free the Venezuelan people, then the United States would have demanded that Maduro hold new elections and allow the United States to oversee those elections with help from U.S. lawmakers. There are U.S. lawmakers who would have been happy to do it. So I'm happy they're free, but I'm not happy with how it happened. And I am condemnatory of the action because of the consequences that I know it will have in the future, and because of the implications, the policy implications, that it has on American foreign policy. Are we the baddies? Kind of seems like it, huh? They can have a power struggle, but at least it's a chance they can get a real government. Yeah, but couldn't they have had a chance at a real government if the Americans had just threatened Maduro and been like, hey, you have to hold a new election. You have to let us fucking oversee it. And if you don't, we're going to invade. I guarantee you that's not the deal that was offered. The deal that was being offered to Maduro was, you know, I think the deal that was offered to Maduro basically was like, either give us over your entire booty hole right now. Don't fuck around with this democracy bullshit or nothing like that. Give us your whole booty hole right this second, or we're going to invade you. Which is obviously a stupid deal that nobody's going to take. It's like, huh? What? That's just a might make right argument. Like, nobody wants that. So, um, I think if the United States had actually approached Venezuela and said, you are going to call new elections and we are going to monitor them with the help of these U.S. lawmakers, and if you don't allow that process to happen, then we'll invade. I think that threat would have been sufficient to coerce compliance out of the Maduro regime. Now, Trump knows Venezuela isn't a big country. I don't think it was power. What now? I wonder if this was sanctioned via Venezuelan military and political heads within government who worked with CIA and current administration. Probably. I mean, that's another reason why I keep saying that it's not actually a decapitation of a dictator, that they have not actually been freed, that the Venezuelan people have not been made free, because the entire government system that was so corrupt in the first place has been left and maintained, which does point, by the way, towards CIA interference and knowledge. What if we just lifted sanctions and worked with their country to improve the living standards of Venezuelans? That is a really good idea. Holy shit, I can't believe nobody's thought of that. What if we just like lifted the sanctions on them and treated them like human beings? No way that would have happened. I think it would have. I think that if the United States, and two, because I think you could have gotten some NATO countries to go along too. I think you could have created some kind of special, like some kind of like UN special committee on the Venezuelan crisis or something like that. And you could have gotten like France, Germany, Belgium, the UK, and the United States to all sit in with some of their lawmakers on an extensive relitigated Venezuelan election process. And like, yeah, like I don't know. Maybe I'm naive for thinking this way, but I genuinely believe that most people have a deal that can be made with them, or some negotiation that can be tried with them, whereat you will arrive at equitable terms. The censoring on this is absurd. So you still want us interfering in a way that never would have worked? I don't think I ever said that we should never interfere with any other country in any way ever. I think I said that we shouldn't do military intervention. Yeah, I think like if we're going to intervene, I think that it should be through a diplomatically viable and democratically legitimate way. Yeah, like why are you acting so surprised at that? Yeah, if we're going to intervene, which I genuinely think that we probably shouldn't, but if we're going to, then yes, then we should do so in a way that is diplomatically viable and democratically legitimate. Also, they will make more money on oil. They've been producing the most polluted and honestly shitty oil, and now they will be able to sell to more countries and make it better. Nah. No, it's not because like Venezuela just has extra heavy crude reserves. That's like what they've got in the ground. It's not because of a lack of fucking infrastructure in Venezuela, that's what they've got. But it is because of a lack of infrastructure in Venezuela. They're not able to make better use of it. Because if Venezuela had more refineries, they would. If Venezuela had more refineries, they would be able to produce more of their own end products, which they could sell for a higher price than the bulk oil that they're, currently selling. either way, yeah, like the oil industry is going to benefit a ton from this Venezuela deal. I just don't care about the profits of the oil industry. See, I think it's good when they don't make a good profit because I think we need to find other ways of powering this planet. I'd like to call this flavor of interventionism Phoebes is talking about is humanist interventionism. Be staunchly against aggressive and military intervention, but advocate for humane intervention. Yes, exactly. I agree, but now we will get them refineries so we get a better deal, but they get better oil. We'll have to see how it plays out. I'm not going to tell you for sure that I know for a fact that it's going to turn out bad for them. I'm just saying I have not seen a lick of fucking evidence in my life and in reading about the lives of past Americans. I have not seen a lick of fucking evidence to believe that this time will be any different from Libya or Iraq or Afghanistan or Ukraine or any of the other dozens of places that we have taken over briefly, provided with a bunch of infrastructure, and then been ran out of on a rail. Phoebe, I'll tell you exactly why we did this. Strategic control of oil in case a war with Iran goes hot and they shut down the Straits of Hormuz. You know what? That makes 100% sense. And honestly, thank you for pointing that out because now I'll remember to look into that more. Because the whole idea there is tied up in two things. Number one, it's American oil barons still exercise a tremendous amount of control over um, over the American government. And it's also about the neoconservative idea that we need to have dominion over the world and that we need to make sure that we have power over the world, which it's funny, right? Like the neoconservatives have a pragmatic reason why they have that belief, and then they're like the lore-based reason, you know? The lore-based reason, the philosophical reason is because, you know, they're taught by their fucking Lord and Savior Leo Strauss that they are to uphold the myth of the nation, and that the myth of the nation in America's case is that we are a unique country with a unique destiny to fight evil in the world. And it's funny because really that is all meant to hide and obfuscate a real, far more primary physical motivation, which is profits. Like the reason why the myth of the nation is important, the reason why the myth of God is important, the reason why is to hold together the country. And the reason why holding together the country is important for people like Leo Strauss and his acolytes is because they are more interested in profits than human beings. They're more interested in American billionaire profits than anything else. And they believe that it is from these rich people and these wealthy elites that all good philosophy and governance descends. And this elitism makes them engage in warlike behaviors that project America's interests across the globe. And the crossover between the pragmatic knowledge of the real profit driven reasons why they're doing this and the philosophical motivations that they're told to espouse creates some interesting cognitive dissonance in the minds of neoconservatives and those adjacent to them. He'll get a cushy deal or end up in ADX Florence like El Chapo. He'll be in ADX Florence. I mean, that's my prediction. My prediction, given what they like, unless Americans take to the streets, like, if Americans take to the streets en masse and demand that an end to the occupation of Venezuela, the return of Nicolas Maduro to his people, or at least the freeing of him, and allowing him to stand trial there or whatever, which he wouldn't, by the way, because Dulcie or Darcy or whatever her name is, the vice president that took power, she has openly called for Maduro to be returned. She's openly called for, she has literally called their arrest and indictment of him fraudulent. So, like, he's not going to be put on trial if he's extradited back to Venezuela. It's just not going to happen. So, you know, unless the American people really fucking push for it, then yeah, he'll probably be sent to ADX Florence to rot the rest of his days away in a sad, segregated cell, remembering the man he used to be. What's up, Casey? I'm almost done, by the way. This is different from the Middle East, and it wasn't just for our benefit. Obviously, we saw value, but I know people from there, and the media makes it look like Venezuelans are mad or scared. The media I've been seeing is making it look like Venezuelans are super happy about this shit. So I don't know, man. This is the most schizophrenic media narrative I've seen in a long time, though, because honestly, you get a different take about what this shit is from every single person you ask about it. And the reason is ultimately because we're all running to the presses with what we know so far, and we're all trying to make takes and extrapolate about what's going to happen, but ultimately none of us knows for sure. And this is still a developing story. I mean, it was Friday night that Caracas got bombed. It was not 2 weeks ago, so, it was fucking 3 days ago. The story is developing. Opinions are going to shift over time, and that's to be expected. Do you think things will chill out? Was looking up beats and seeing you were live. Hell yeah. Do you think things will chill out? Would you rather see him rotting in prison or released to Venezuela to destroy more lives? I would rather see him released to America. I would rather see him on house arrest somewhere here in America. Honestly. I think if we're gonna have to fucking, do some shit with him at this point, because we've already gone this far, then it needs to be something other than rotting in a fucking 8x8 prison cell for the rest of his life, because I don't think anyone should be subjected to that. And yes, before you ask, that includes the worst criminal. I believe in the Dutch protocol when it comes to prisons. I believe in the Dutch protocol when it comes to most things, as you'll find. But do you think things will chill out? No. No, I do not. I think 2026 will see more war and destruction than we've seen in any other year previous in our lives, Bree. I think this will be the single most destructive year me and you have ever seen. And I hate to say that, but I see no reason why it would chill out. Trump has basically already talked about how he intends to invade Cuba and replace their leader and engage regime change there. He was threatening Mexico and Claudia Sheinbaum, despite the fact that they are globally beloved. He was threatening Colombia. So Trump is very clearly on the warpath. He was threatening Greenland and therefore Denmark. So I think that he's going to keep taking territories and keep invading other countries and keep doing these decapitation runs and things like that until, I don't know. I don't know. Is the entire world just going to let Donald Trump take them over? Because it kind of seems like they might. Europe is not doing a fucking thing to stop us in this whole Venezuelan thing. They're not even really challenging it. One European country has had something to say, truly, in terms of condemnation about us taking Greenland, and that's the country we would be taking it from. So I kind of, the cynical part of me thinks that in 20 years we're not going to live in the United States anymore. We're going to live in state number one of Trump world, where it'll just be literally Trump's face on every billboard in a little corner right there. This message was approved by Donald John Trump, and we're going to see Trump statues everywhere. And, there is a part, a cynical part of me that sees how the MAGA movement and every part of the rest of the world seeming unwillingness to confront it, even when it has international, can't think of the word I'm looking for. Damn it. Desires, not ambitions. I don't know, man. Nazi Germany was allowed to conquer most of Europe before anybody really started fighting back against them. What is the Dutch method? I think you mean the Dutch protocol. And it's not just one, it's not like a sentence long explanation. It's like a way of looking at things. If you want to look up how the Dutch do their prisons, then you probably get a better explanation looking up Dutch prisons than you would asking me about it. I can explain some of the things I like about Dutch prisons and the Dutch protocol as it concerns prisons, right? But this really proves that NATO allies are like our vassal states. Oh, they're 100% our vassal states. This is a bit hyperbolic. You have 3 years of the guy. How competent do you think he is? Oh, I don't think he's going to achieve all that in the next 3 years. I was saying that I think he's like, there's a cynical part of me that could see how Trump could do so much imperialism in the remaining 3 years that he's got left that he gets like 7 countries that are not under our control to be under our control by the end of that term. And then he passes on the Trump name and the MAGA movement to whoever the next Republican is. And they win in a landslide because I don't know, Americans have just been mass brainwashed by that point, and we're all just, goose stepping little Hitlerites or whatever at that point. And like, I don't know, like, there's a cynical part of me that has seen Europe's unwillingness to challenge us or challenge our president, and the world's seeming unwillingness to challenge us, even though it's been shown at this point that we have international ambitions. There's a cynical part of me that has seen that and just been like, all right, fuck it. We don't have any friends. Like, if America as a concept had a goddamn ally one, we would have already experienced a counter invasion. We would have already experienced international condemnation, international sanctions. For some reason, Russia is allowed to invade their neighbor and make whatever excuses about it that they want, right? Or for some reason, Russia is not allowed to do that, right? For some reason, it's horrible when Russia does it. But when America does it, it's fine. America can invade our neighbor, and it's fine. We make whatever justifications we want for it. But if Russia does that, then the whole world seems to understand in that case, oh, pieces of shit. Just goes to show you how much of this shit's just really American political will writ large. And that's what makes me think, that's what makes that cynical part of me so creative, is just thinking about all the kind of shit that Trump would do and has done and wants to do in the future, and thinking about the fact that he's probably going to standardize and normalize that as American, at least conservative policy going forward, which means some lighter version of it will get normalized as Democratic policy. And, at a certain point, like, if Europe doesn't fight back against it, like, it doesn't appear like they're going to, like, if that becomes American policy, and if America continues behaving in that way, and it stays the policy of the rest of the world to never challenge American hegemony on anything, then, I mean, is the reality that I really laid out, is it really all that hyperbolic, Winston? If you think about it, like, is it really that fucking unbelievable to think that America might have conquered basically the entire planet in 20 years, and we'll just have like Trump statues on every corner? Not on every corner, that would be hyperbolic, but in every, town square, we'll say. Because I think it's an entirely possible future, given the fucking blasé manner in which Europe is regarding this Venezuela situation. Hell, the blasé manner in which South America seems to be regarding this Venezuela situation. Just seems like everybody on the planet pretty much is okay with us going in there. Like, the UN had condemnation for us, European leaders had condemnation for us, but they've got no sanctions, they've got no trade restrictions, there's nothing like that, there's no real enforcement, they've got no intent on making good on any of this shit. The U.S. Senate will meet in a week about it. No rush. Exactly. No rush. Trump is essentially incapable of passing any bills for the next 3 years. He's doing what he can by focusing on policy. What Russia is doing is pretty different. A better comparison would be the Iraq War. Well, I've made that comparison quite a bit. But, I think that the comparison is apt here, right? Because I don't think Russia had any more right to invade Ukraine than America does to invade Venezuela. So in that way, they're comparable, right? Venezuela is close to our country. Ukraine is close to Russia. Russia is a big superpower with way more weapons and equipment and soldiers than Ukraine. America's a big America's a big soldier. America's a big country with way more soldiers, equipment, and money than Venezuela. I don't know. They don't seem that dissimilar to me if the point that you're making is that big countries shouldn't attack their neighbors for no reason. Thank you for the floating heart, Pink Fur. I also don't see why Denmark deserves to have it anyways, though, so I'm conflicted about that. I mean, like, why does anyone deserve to have any land, you know? Like, good question. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. As always, I love it, but I'm going to go ahead and head out. Yeah, I agree, Ignar. They are pretty much doing that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for donating. Thank you guys for super chatting. Thank you guys for everything you do. I will see you guys around later. I don't really know much about the current situation. I'm trying to learn more from what I've seen. Venezuela seems to be happy. Yeah, for sure. They're happy now. They won't be for long. I will see you guys later, though. Bye, y'all.